Act 2, Scene 4, France, the King's Palace. Enter the French King, the Dauphin, the Dukes of Berry and Bretagne, and Constable and others.
Thus come the English with full power upon us, and more than carefully it concerns us to answer royally in our defenses. Therefore, the Dukes of Berry and of Bretagne, of Brabant and of Orleans shall make forth, and you, Prince Dauphin, with all swift dispatch to line and new repair our towns of war with men of courage and with means defendant. For England, his approaches makes us as fierce as waters to the sucking of a gulf. It fits us then to be as provident as fear may teach us out of late examples left by the fatal and neglected English upon our fields.
My most redoubted father, it is most meet we arm us against the foe. For peace itself should not so dull a kingdom, the war nor no known quarrel were in question, but the defenses, musters, preparations should be maintained, assembled, and collected, as were a war in expectation. Therefore, I say, 'tis meet we all go forth to view the sick and feeble parts of France. And let us do it with no show of fear, no, with no more than if we heard that England were busied with a Whitsun Morris dance. For my good liege, she is so idly kinged, her sceptre so fantastically borne by a vain, giddy, shallow, humorous youth, that fear attends her not.
Oh, peace, Prince Dauphin. You are too much mistaken in this king. Question your grace the late ambassadors, with what great state he heard their embassy, how well supplied with noble counselors, how modest in exception, and withal how terrible in constant resolution. And you shall find his vanities forspent, were but the outside of the Roman Brutus, covering discretion with a coat of folly. As gardeners do with ordure, hide those roots that shall first spring and be most delicate.
Well, 'tis not so, my Lord High Constable. But though we think it so, it is no matter. In cases of defense, 'tis best to weigh the enemy more mighty than he seems. So the proportions of defense are filled, which of a weak and niggardly projection doth like a miser spoil his coat with scanting a little cloth.
Think we King Harry strong? And princes, look you strongly armed to meet him. The kindred of him hath been fleshed upon us, and he is bred out of that bloody stain that haunted us in our familiar paths. Witness our too much memorable shame when Cressy battle fatally was struck, and all our princes captived by the hand of that black name, Edward, Black Prince of Wales, whiles that his mountain sire, on mountain standing, up in the air, crowned with the golden sun, saw his heroical seed and smiled to see him mangle the work of nature and deface the patterns that by God and by French fathers had 20 years been made. This is a stem of that victorious stalk, and let us fear the native mightiness and fate of him.
Ambassadors from Harry, King of England, do crave admittance to your majesty.
We'll give them present audience. Go and bring them. You see, this chase is hotly followed, friends.
Turn head and stop pursuit. Coward dogs must spend their mouths when what they seem to threaten runs far before them. Good my sovereign, take up the English short and let them know of what a monarchy you are the head. Self-love, my liege, is not so vile a sin as self-neglecting.
From our brother England?
From him, and thus he greets your majesty. He wills you, in the name of God Almighty, that you divest yourself and lay apart the borrowed glories that by gift of heaven, by law of nature and of nations, belong to him and to his heirs, namely the crown, and all wide-stretched honors that pertain by custom and the ordinance of times unto the crown of France. that you may know, 'tis no sinister nor no awkward claim picked from the wormholes of long-vanished days, nor from the dust of old oblivion raked. He sends you this most memorable line, in every branch truly demonstrative, willing to overlook this pedigree, when you find him evenly derived from his most famed of famous ancestors, Edward III. He bids you then resign your crown and kingdom, indirectly held from him, the native and true challenger.
Or else what follows?
Bloody constraint. For if you hide the crown even in your hearts, there he will rake for it. Therefore in fierce tempest is he coming, in thunder and in earthquake, like a Jove, that if requiring fail, he will compel and bid you, in the bowels of the Lord, deliver up the crown and to take mercy on the poor souls for whom this hungry war opens his vasty jaws. And on your head, turning the widow's tears, the orphan's cries, the dead men's blood, the pining maiden's groans for husbands, fathers, and betrothed lovers, that shall be swallowed in this controversy. This is his claim, his threatening, and my message, unless the Dauphin be in his presence here, to whom expressly I bring greeting to.
For us, we will consider of this further. Tomorrow shall you bear our full intent back to our brother England.
For the Dauphin, I stand here for him. What to him from England?
Scorn and defiance, slight regard, contempt, and anything that might not misbecome the mighty sender doth he prize you at. Thus says my king, if your father highness do not in grant of all demands at large sweeten the bitter mock you sent his majesty, he'll call you to so hot an answer of it, that caves and woomy voltages of France shall chide your trespass and return your mock in the second accent of his ordinance.
Say, if my father render fair return, it is against my will, for I desire nothing but odds with England. To that end, as matching to his youth and vanity, I did present him with the Paris balls.
He'll make your Paris Louvre shake for it. We're at the mistress court of mighty Europe, and be assured you'll find a difference, as we his subjects have in wonder found, between the promise of his greener days and these he masters now. Now he wastes time, even to the utmost grain, that you shall read in your own losses, if he stay in France.
Tomorrow you shall know our mind at full.
Dispatch us with all speed, lest that our king come here himself to question our delay, for he is footed in this land already.
You shall be soon dispatched with fair conditions. A night is but small breath and little pause to answer matters of this consequence.
Exit. Thus, with imagined wing, our swift scene flies in motion of no less celerity than that of thought. Suppose that you have been the well-appointed king at Hampton Pier, embark his royalty and his brave fleet with silken streamers and young Phoebus fanning play with your fancies, and in them behold upon the hempen tackle shipboys climbing. Hear the shrill whistle which doth order give to sounds confused. Behold the threatened sails borne with the invisible and creeping wind. Draw the huge bottoms through the furrowed sea, breasting the lofty surge. Oh, but do think you stand upon the ravage and behold a city on the inconstant billows dancing. For so appears this fleet majestical, holding due course to Harfleur. Follow, grapple your minds to sternage of this navy, and leave your England as dead midnight still, guarded with grandsires, babies, and old women, either past or not arrived to pith and puissance. For who is he whose chin is but enriched with one appearing hair that will not follow these culled and choice-drawn cavaliers to France? Work your thoughts, and therein see a siege. Behold the ordnance on their carriages, with fatal mouths gaping on girded Harfleur. Suppose the ambassador from the French comes back, tells Harry that the king doth offer him Catherine his daughter, and with her to dowry some petty and unprofitable dukedoms. This offer likes not, and the nimble gunner with linstock now the devilish cannon touches. Alarum and chambers go off, and down goes all before them. Still, be kind, and eke out our performance with your mind. Act 3, Scene 1, France, before Harfleur. Enter King Henry, Exeter, Bedford, Gloucester, and soldiers with scaling ladders.
Once more unto the breach, dear friends, once more, or close the wall up with our English dead. In peace, there's nothing so becomes a man as modest stillness and humility. But when the blast of war blows in our ears, then imitate the action of the tiger, stiffen the sinews, summon up the blood, disguise fair nature with hard favored rage. Then lend the eye a terrible aspect. Let pry through the portage of the head like the brass cannon. Let the brow o'erwhelm as fearfully as doth the galled rock o'erhang and juddy his confounded base, swilled with the wild and wasteful ocean. Now, set the teeth and stretch the nostril wide, hold hard the breath and bend up every spirit to his full height. On, on, you noblest English, whose blood is fet from fathers of war proof. Fathers, like so many Alexanders, have in these parts from morn till even fought, and sheathed their swords for lack of argument. Dishonor not your mothers, now attest that those whom you called fathers did beget you. Be copy now to men of grosser blood, and teach them how to war. And you, good yeomen, whose limbs were made in England, show us here the mettle of your pasture. Let us swear that you are worth your breeding, which I doubt not. For there is none of you so mean and base that hath not noble luster in your eyes. I see you stand like greyhounds in the slips, straining upon the start. The game's afoot. Follow your spirit, and upon this charge, cry God for Harry, England, and St. George!
Exit. Enter Act 3, Scene 2, the same. Enter Nym, Bardolph, Pistol, and the boy. On to the breach, to the breach!
Lady Corporal, stay! The knocks are too hot. And for mine own part, I have no case of lives. The humor is too hot. That is the very plain song of it.
A plain song is most just, for humors do abound. Knocks go and come, God's vassals drop and die, and sword and shield and bloody field doth win immortal fame.
Oh, would I were in an alehouse in London. I would give all my fame for a pot of ale and safety.
And would I, if wishes would prevail with me, my purpose should not fail with me, but thither would I hie.
As duly, but not as truly, as bird doth sing on bough.
Up to the breach, you dogs! Avaunt, ye cullions!
Fine. I'm waiting for the entrance. Up to the breach, you dogs! Avaunt, you cullions!
Be merciful, great Duke, to men of mold. Abate thy rage, abate thy manly rage. Abate thy rage, great Duke. Good Ballcock, bate thy rage. You lenity, sweet Chuck.
These be good humors. Your honor wins bad humors.
As young as I am, I have observed these three swashers. I am boy to them all three, but all they three, though they would serve me, could not be man to me. For indeed, three such antics do not amount to a man. For Bardolph, he is a white-livered and red face, and by means whereof a face is his out, but fights not. But Pistol, he hath a killing tongue and a quiet sword, by the means whereof a breaks words and keeps whole weapons. For Nym, He hath heard that men of few words are the best men, and therefore he scorns to say his prayers, lest they should be thought a coward. But his few bad words are matched with his few good deeds. For they never broke as any man's head but his own, and that was against a post when he was drunk. They will steal anything and call it purchase. Bardolph stole a lute case and bore it 12 leagues and sold it for 3 halfpence. Nym and Bardolph are sworn brothers in filching, and in Calais they stole a fire shovel. I knew by that piece of service the men would carry coals. They would have me as familiar with men's pockets as their gloves or their handkerchiefs. And what makes much against my manhood if I should take from another's pocket to put into mine? For it's plain pocketing up wrongs. I must leave them and seek some better service. Their villainy goes against my weak stomach, and therefore I must cast it up.
Exits re-enter Fluellen, Gower following.
Captain Fluellen, you must come presently to the mines. The Duke of Gloucester would speak with you.
To the mines! Tell you the Duke, it is not so good to come to the mines, for, look you, the mines is not according to the disciplines of war. The concavities of it is not sufficient, for, look you, the adversary you may discuss unto the Duke, look you, is digged himself 4 yards under the mines. By chest you, I think I will plough up all if there's not better directions.
The Duke of Gloucester, to whom the order of the siege is given, is altogether directed by an Irishman, a very valiant gentleman in faith.
Is it Captain McMorris, is it not?
I think it be.
Oh, by Cheshire, as he is an ass, as in the world, I will verify as much in his beard. B has no more direction in the true disciplines of war, look you, of the Roman disciplines, than is a puppy dog.
Here comes the Scots captain, Captain Jamie, with him.
Oh, Captain Jamie is a marvelous, valorous gentleman, that is certain. Of the great expedition and knowledge in the ancient wars, upon my particular knowledge of his directions by chest you, he will maintain his argument as well as any military man in the world in the discipline of the pristine wars of the Romans.
I say good day, Captain Fluellen.
And good den to you, worship, good Captain James.
How now, Captain McMorris? Have you quit the mines? Have the pioneers given o'er?
By Christ, 'tis ill done. The work is give over. The trumpet sound the retreat. By my hand I swear, my father's soul, the work is ill done. It is give over. I would have blowed up the town, so Christ save me, in an hour. Oh, 'tis ill done, 'tis ill done. By my hand, 'tis ill done.
Captain McMorris, I beseech you now, will you vouchsafe me, look you, a few dispositions with you as partly touching or concerning the disciplines of the war, the Roman wars, in the way of argument, look you, and friendly communication, partly to satisfy my opinion, and partly for the satisfaction, look you, of my mind, as touching the direction of the military discipline. That is the point.
Oh, it shall be very good. Good faith, good captains both. And I shall quit you with good leave, as I may pick occasion that I shall marry.
'Tis no time to discourse. So Christ save me. The day is hot, and the weather, and the wars, and the king, and the dukes. There's no time to discourse. The town is besieged, and the trumpet call us to the breach. And we talk, and be Christ do nothing, 'tis shame for us all. So God save me, 'tis shame to stand still. It is shame by my hand, and there is throats to be cut, and work to be done. and there was nothing done, so Christ save me. La.
Oh, by the mess, ere these eyes of mine take themselves to slumber, I'll the good service, or I'll lig at the ground for it. Aye, or go to death, and I'll pay it as valorously as I may. That shall I surely do. That is the breath and the long. Marry, I would full fain hear some question between you and twae.
Captain McMorris, I think, look you, under the correction, there is not many of your nation.
Of my nation? What is my nation? It's a villain and a bastard and a knave and a rascal. What is my nation? Who talks of my nation?
Look you, if you take the matter otherwise that is meant, Captain McMorris, peradventure I shall think you do not use with that affability as in direction you ought to use me. Look you, being as good as a man as yourself, both in the disciplines of war and in the derivation of your birth, as in other particularities.
I do not know you so good a man as myself, so Christ save me. I'll cut off your head.
Gentlemen, both, you will mistake each other.
Ah, that's our fault.
The town sounds a parley.
Oh, Captain McMorris, where there is more better opportunity to be required, look you, I will so bold as to tell you I know the disciplines of war, and there is the end.
Exit all. Act 3, Scene 3, the same before the gates. The governor and some citizens on the walls, the English forces below, enter King Henry and his train.
How yet resolves the governor of the town? This is the latest par we will admit. Therefore, to our best mercy give yourselves, or like to men proud of destruction, defy us to our worst. For as I am a soldier, a name that in my thoughts becomes me best, if I begin the battery once again, I will not leave the half-achieved Harfleur till in her ashes she lie buried. The gates of mercy shall be all shut up, and the fleshed soldier, rough and hard of heart, in liberty of bloody hand shall range, with conscience white as hell, mowing like grass your fresh fair virgins and your flowering infants. What is it then to me, if impious war, arrayed in flames like to the prince of fiends, do with his smirched complexion all fell feats in link to waste and desolation? What is it to me, when you yourselves are cause, if your pure maidens fall into the hand of hot and forcing by desolation? What reign can hold licentious wickedness when down the hill he holds his fierce career? We may as bootless spend our vain command upon the enraged soldiers in their spoil as send precepts to the Leviathan to come ashore. Therefore, you men of Harfleur, take pity of your town and your people. Whilst yet my soldiers are in my command, whilst yet the cool and temperate wind of grace o'erblows the filthy and contagious clouds of heady murder, spoil, and villainy. If not, why, in a moment, look to see the blind and bloody soldier with foul hand defile the locks of your shrill-seeking daughters, your fathers taken by the silver beards, and their most reverend heads dashed to the walls, your naked infants upon pikes, while the mad mothers with their howls confused do break the clouds as did the wives of Jewry and Herod's bloody haunting slaughtermen. What say you? Will you yield, and this avoid, and guilty in defense be thus destroyed?
Our expectation hath this day an end. The Dauphin, whom of succors we entreated, returns us that his powers are yet not ready to raise so great a siege. Therefore, great king, we yield our town and lives to thy soft mercy. Enter our gates, dispose of us and ours, for we no longer are defensible.
Open your gates, Come, Uncle Exeter, go you and enter Harfleur. There remain and fortify it strongly against the French. Use mercy to them all. For us, dear uncle, the winter coming on and sickness growing upon our soldiers, we will retire to Calais. Tonight, in Harfleur, we will be your guest. Tomorrow for the march are we addressed.
The king and his train enter the town. Act 3, Scene 4, the French king's palace.
Alice, tout était en Angleterre et tu parles bien le langage?
Un peu, madame.
Je te prie, m'enseigner. Il faut que je prenne à parler. Comment appelez-vous le man en anglais?
Le main, elle est appelée the hand.
The hand? Oh, et le doigt?
Les doigts? Ma foi, j'oublie les doigts, mais je m'y souvendre les doigts. Oh! Je pense qu'ils sont appelés des fingres. Oui, des fingres.
Oh, la main? The hand. Les doigts? The fingers. Oh, je pense que je suis bonne, le bon écolier. J'ai gagné 2 mots d'angloise vitement. Comment appelez-vous les ongles?
Les ongles. Nous les appelons des nails.
The nails.
Ooh.
Écoutez, dites-moi si je parle bien. The hand, the fingers et the nails.
C'est bien dit, madame. Il est fort bon anglois.
Dites-moi l'angoisse pour les bras.
The arm, madame.
Et le coude?
D'elbow.
The elbow. Oh, je m'en fais la répétition de tous les mots que vous m'avez appris à présent.
Il est trop difficile, madame, comme je pense.
Oh, excusez-moi, Alice. Écoutez. The hand, the fingers, the nail, the arm, the elbow.
The elbow, madame.
Oh, Seigneur Dieu, je m'en oubliais. The elbow. Comment appelez-vous le col?
De nick, madame.
De nick? Oh, et le menton?
De chin.
Oh, de chin. Le col de nick. De menton, de chin.
Oui, c'est votre honneur. En vérité, vous prononciez les mots aussi droit que le natif d'Angleterre.
Oh, je ne doute point d'apprendre par la grâce de Dieu et en peu de temps.
N'avez-vous pas déjà oublié ce que je vous en enseignais?
Non, je réciterai à vous promptement. The hand, the fingers, the nails.
The nails, madame.
The nails, the arm, the elbow.
C'est votre honneur, the elbow.
Oh, ainsi déjà. The elbow, the neck et the chin. Comment appelez-vous le pied et la robe?
Des foot, madame, et des coudes.
De foot et de cône. Oh, Seigneur Dieu, ces mots de son mauvais, corruptible, grosse et impudique, et non pour les dames d'honneur, il disait. Je ne voudrais prononcer ces mots devant les seigneurs de France pour tout le monde. Oh, le foot et le corne. Ah, néanmoins, je réciterai une autre fois ma leçon ensemble. The hand, the fingers, the nails, the arm, the elbow, the neck, the sin, the foot, the corn.
Excellente, madame!
Oh, c'est assez pour une fois. Allons-nous à dîner.
Exit. Enter Act 3, Scene 5. The same. Enter the King of France, the Dauphin, the Duke of Bourbon, the Constable of France, and others.
'Tis certain he hath passed the river Somme.
And if he be not fought withal, my lord, let us not live in France. Let us quit all and give our vineyards to a barbarous people.
Oh, Dieu vivant! Shall a few sprays of us, the emptying of our father's luxury, our scions put in wild and savage stock, spirit up so suddenly into the clouds, and overlook their grafters? Normans, but bastard Normans, Norman bastards, if they march along unfought withal, but I will sell my dukedom to buy a slobbery and a dirty farm in that nook-shotten isle of Albion.
Dieu des bêtards, where have they this metal? Is not their climate foggy, raw, and dull? On whom is in despite the sun looks pale, killing their fruit with frowns? Can sodden water a drench for surrend jades, their barley brought? Decoct their cold blood to such valiant heat? And shall our quick blood, spirited with wine, seem frosty? Oh, for honor of our land, let us not hang like roping icicles upon our houses' thatch, while the more frosty people sweat drops of gallant youth in our rich fields, or we may call them in their native lords.
By faith and honor, our madams mock at us and plainly say our metal is bred out, and they will give their bodies to the lust of English youth, to New France with bastard warriors.
They bid us to the English dancing schools and teach the voltas high and swift Corinthos, saying our grace is only in our heels, that we are most likely runaways.
Where is Montjoy the herald? Speed him hence. Let him greet England with our sharp defense. Up, princes, and with spirit of honor edged, more sharper than your swords, hie to the field. Charles d'Elizabeth, High Constable of France. You, Dukes of Orleans, Bourbon, and of Berry, Alençon, Brabant, Bar, and Burgundy, Jacques Chatillon, Rambourg, Vendémour, Beaumont, Grandpré, Roussy, and Falconbert, Foix, Lestrade, Boucicaut, and Chalecois, high dukes, great princes, barons, lords, and knights, for your great seats now quit you of great shames. Bar Harry England, that sweeps through our land with pennons painted in the blood of Harfleur. Rush on his host, as doth the melted snow upon the valleys whose low vassal seat the Alps doth split and void his room upon. Go down upon him, you have power enough. And in a captive's chariot into Rouen bring him our prisoner.
This becomes the great. Sorry am I, his numbers are so few, his soldiers sick and famished in their march. I am sure when he shall see our army, he'll drop his heart into the sink of fear, and for achievement offer us his ransom.
Therefore, Lord Constable, haste on Montjoy, and let him say to England that we send to know what willing ransom he will give. Prince Dauphin, you shall stay with us in Rouen.
Not so. I do beseech your majesty.
Be patient, for you shall remain with us. Now, forth, Lord Constable and princes all, and quickly bring us word of England's fall.
Exit all. Act 3, Scene 6, the English camp in Picardy. Enter Gower and Fluellen, meeting.
How now, Captain Fluellen? Come you from the bridge?
I assure you there is very excellent services committed at the bridge.
Is the Duke of Exeter safe?
The Duke of Exeter is as magnanimous as Agamemnon, and a man that I love and honor with my soul and my heart and my duty and my life and my living and my utmost power. He is not, God be praised and blessed, any hurt in the world, but keeps the bridge most valiantly and with excellent discipline. There is an ancient lieutenant there as the Pridge, I think, is very conscious. He is as valiant as a man as Mark Antony. And he is a man of no more estimation in the world, but did see him do as gallant service.
What do you call him? What do you call him?
He is called Ancient Pistol.
I know him not.
Enter Pistol.
Here is the man.
Captain, I thee beseech to do me favors. The Duke of Exeter doth love thee well.
I praise God, and I have merited some love at his hands.
Bardolph, a soldier firm and sound of heart, and of buxom valor, hath by cruel fate and giddy fortune's furious fickle wheel that goddess blind that stands upon the rolling restless stone.
Be by your patience, Ancient Pistol. Fortune is painted blind, and with the muffler afore her eyes to signify you that Fortune is blind. And she is painted also with a wheel to signify to you, which is the moral of it, that she is turning and inconstant and mutability and variation. And her foot, look you, is fixed upon a spherical stone which rolls and rolls and rolls. In good truth, the poet that makes the most excellent description of it, Fortune is most exceptional moral.
Fortune is Bardolph's foe and frowns on him, for he hath stolen a pox and hanged must he be. A damned death! Let gallows gate for dog, let man go free, and let not hemp his windpipe suffocate. But Exeter hath given the doom of death for pox of little price. Therefore go speak, the Duke will hear thy voice, and let not Bardolph's vital thread be cut with edge of penny cord and vile reproach. Speak, Captain, for his life, and I will thee requite.
Ancient Pistol, I do partly understand your meaning.
Why then rejoice therefore?
Certainly, Ancient, it is not a thing to rejoice at. For if, look you, he were my brother, I would desire the Duke to use his good pleasure and to put him to execution, for discipline ought to be used.
Die and be damned, and figo for thy friendship.
That is well.
The fig on Spain.
Very good.
Why, this is an arrant counterfeit rascal. I remember him now, a bawd, a cutpurse.
I assure you, and uttered as brave words as the bridges you shall see in a summer's day. But it is very well. What he has spoke to me, that is well, I warrant you, when time is served.
Why, 'tis a gull, a fool, a rogue that now and then goes to wars to grace himself at his return into London under the form of a soldier. And such fellows are perfect in the great commanders' names, and they will learn you by rote where services were done, and such a sconce, at such a breach, at such a convoy, who came off bravely, who was shot, who disgraced, what terms the enemy stood on, and this they con perfectly in the phrase of war, which they trick up with new tuned oaths. And what a beard of the general's cut, a horrid suit the camp will do among foaming bottles and ale-washed wits is wonderful to be thought on. But you must learn to know such slanders of the age, or else you may be marvelously mistook.
I'll tell you what, Captain Gower, I do perceive he is not the man that he would gladly make show to the world he is. If I find a hole in his coat, I will tell him my mind. Hark you, the king is coming. I must speak to him from the bridge. God bless your majesty.
Enter King Henry, Gloucester, and soldiers.
God bless you,
How
your
now,
majesty.
Llewellyn? How now, Llewellyn? Camest thou from the bridge?
Ah, please you, your majesty. The Duke of Exeter has very gallantly maintained the bridge. The French is gone off, look you, and there is gallant and most brave passages. Marry, the adversary have possession of the bridge, but he is enforced to retire, and the Duke of Exeter is master of the bridge. I can tell your majesty, the Duke is a brave man.
What men have you lost, Llewellyn?
The perdition of the adversary hath been very great, reasonable great. Marry, for my part, I think the Duke hath lost never a man but one that is like to be executed by robbing a church. One Bardolph, if your majesty know the man. His face is all bacules and welts and knobs and flames of fire, and his lips blows at his nose, and is like a coal fire, sometimes blue and sometimes red, but his nose is executed, and his fire's out.
We would have all such offenders so cut off, and we give express charge that in our marches through the country, there be nothing compelled from the villages, nothing taken but paid for, none of the French upbraided or abused in disdainful language, for when lenity and cruelty play for a kingdom, the gentler gamester is the soonest winner.
Enter Montjoy.
You know me by my habit?
Well, then I know thee. What shall I know of thee?
My master's mind.
Unfold it.
Thus says my king. Say thou to Henry of England, though we seemed dead, we did but sleep. Advantage is a better soldier than rashness. Tell him we could have rebuked him at Harfleur, but that we thought not good to bruise an injury till it were full ripe. Now we speak upon our cue, and our voice is imperial. England shall repent his folly, see his weakness, and admire our sufferance. Bid him, therefore, consider his ransom, which must proportion the losses we have borne, the subjects we have lost, the disgrace we have digested, which in weight to re-answer his pettiness would bow under. For our losses, his exchequer is too poor. For the effusion of our blood, the muster of his kingdom too faint a number. And for our disgrace, his own person kneeling at our feet, but a weak and worthless satisfaction. To this add defiance, and tell him for conclusion, he hath betrayed his followers, whose condemnation is pronounced. So far, my king and master, so much my office.
What is thy name? I know thy quality.
Montjoy.
Thou dost thy office fairly. Turn thee back, and tell thy king I do not seek him now, but could be willing to march on to Calais without impeachment. For to say the sooth, though 'tis no wisdom to confess so much unto an enemy of craft and vantage, my people are with sickness much enfeebled, My number's lessened, and those few I have almost no better than so many French, who when they were in health, I tell thee, Harold, I thought upon one pair of English legs did march 3 Frenchmen. Yet forgive me, God, that I do brag thus. This your heir of France hath blown that vice in me. I must repent. Go therefore, tell thy master, here I am. My ransom is this frail and worthless trunk. My army but a weak and sickly guard. Yet God before, tell him we will come on, though France himself and such another neighbor stand in our way. Yes, for thy labor, Montjoy. Go bid thy master well advise himself. If we may pass, we will. If we be hindered, we shall tawny your ground with your red blood discolor. And so, Montjoy, fare you well. The sum of all our answer is but this. We would not seek a battle as we are, nor as we are. We say we will not shun it. So tell your master.
I shall deliver so, thanks to your highness.
Exit.
I hope they will not come upon us now.
We are in God's hands, brother, not in theirs. March to the bridge. It now draws toward night. Beyond the river will encamp thyself, and on tomorrow bid them march away.
Exit all. Act 3, Scene 7, a French camp near Agincourt.
I've the best armor of the world. Would it were day.
You have excellent armor, but let my horse have his due.
It is the best horse of Europe.
Will it never be morning?
My Lord of Orleans and my Lord High Constable, you talk of horse and armor?
You are as well provided of both as any prince in the world.
What a long night is this. I will not change my horse with any that treads but on 4 pasterns. He bounds from the earth as if his entrails were hairs. The Pegasus, when I bestride him, I soar. I am a hawk. He trots the air. The earth sings when he touches it. The basest horn of his hoof is more musical than the pipe of Hermes.
He's the color of nutmeg.
And of the heat of the ginger. It is a beast for Perseus. He is pure air and fire. And the dull elements of earth and water never appear in him, but only in patient stillness while his rider mounts him. He is indeed a horse, and all other jades you may call beasts.
Indeed, my lord, it is a most absolute and excellent horse.
It is the Prince of Palfreys. His neigh is like the bidding of a monarch, and his countenance enforces homage.
No more, cousin.
Nay, the man hath no wit that cannot, from the rising of the lark to the lodging of the lamb, vary deserved praise on my palfrey. It is a theme as fluent as the sea. Turn the sands into eloquent tongues, and my horse is argument for them all. 'Tis a subject for a sovereign to reason on, and for a sovereign's sovereign to ride on, and for the world, familiar to us and unknown, to lay apart their particular functions and wonder at him. I once writ a sonnet in his praise and began thus, Wonder of Nature.
I have heard a sonnet begin so to one's mistress.
Then did they imitate that which I composed to my courser, for my horse is my mistress.
Your mistress bears well.
Me? Well? Which is prescript, praise, and perfect. Which is me? Well? Which is the prescript, praise and perfection of a good and particular mistress.
Nay, for methought yesterday your mistress shrewdly shook you off her back.
So perhaps did yours.
Mine was not bridled.
Oh, then belike she was old and gentle, and you rode like a kern of Ireland, your French hose off, and in your straight strossers.
You have good judgment in horsemanship.
Be warned by me then, they that ride so, and ride not warily, fall into foul bogs. I had rather have my horse to my mistress.
It is lief to have my mistress a jade.
I tell thee, constable, my mistress wears his own hair.
I could make as true a boast of that if I had a sow to my mistress.
Thou makest use of anything.
Yet do I not use my horse for my mistress, or any such proverb so little kin to the purpose.
My lord constable, the armor that I saw in your tent tonight, are those stars or suns upon it?
Stars, my lord.
Some of them will fall tomorrow, I hope.
And yet my sky shall not want.
That may be, for you bear a many superfluously, and 'twere more honor some were away.
Even as your horse bears your praises, who would trot as well, were some of your brags dismounted.
Would I were able to load him with his desert. Will it never be day? I will trot a mile, and my way shall be paved with English faces.
I will not say so, for fear I should be faced out of my way. But I would it were morning. I would fain be about the ears of the English.
Who will go to hazard with me for 20 prisoners?
You must first go yourself to hazard, ere you have them.
'Tis midnight. I'll go arm myself.
The Dauphin longs for morning.
He longs to eat the English.
I think he will eat all he kills.
By the white hand of my lady, he's a gallant prince.
Swear by your foot that she may tread out the earth, the oath.
He is simply the most active gentleman of France.
Doing is activity, and he will still be doing.
He never did harm that I heard of.
Nor will he do none tomorrow. He will keep that good name still.
I know him to be valiant.
I was told that by one that knows him better than you.
What's he?
Marry, he told me so himself, and he said he cared not who knew it.
He needs not. It is no hidden virtue in him.
By my faith, sir, but it is. Never anybody saw it but his lackey. 'Tis a hooded valor, and when it appears, it will bait.
I will say, never said well.
I will cap that proverb with, there is flattery in friendship.
And I will take up that with, give the devil his due.
Well placed. There stands your friend for the devil. Have at the very eye of the proverb with a pox of the devil.
Ha, you are better at proverbs by how much? A fool's boat is soon shot.
You have shot over.
'Tis not the first time you were overshot.
My Lord High Constable, the English lie within 1,500 paces of your tents.
Who hath measured the ground?
The Lord Grand Pré.
A valiant and most expert gentleman. Would it were day. Alas, poor Harry of England. He longs not for the dawning as we do.
Ah, what a wretched and peevish fellow is this King of England, to mope with his fat-brained followers so far out of his knowledge.
If the English had any apprehension, they would run away.
That they lack, for if their heads had any intellectual armor, they could never wear such heavy headpieces.
An island of England breeds very valiant creatures. Their mastiffs are of unmatchable courage.
Foolish curs that run winking into the mouth of a Russian bear and have their heads crushed like rotten apples. You may as well say that's a valiant flea that dare eat his breakfast on the lip of a lion.
Just. And the men do sympathize with the mastiffs in robustiousness and rough coming on, leaving their wits with their wives, and then give them great meals of beef and iron and steel. They will eat like wolves and fight like devils.
Yeah, but these English are shrewdly out of beef.
Then shall we find tomorrow they have only stomachs to eat and none to fight. Now it is time to arm. Come, shall we about it?
It is now 2:00, but let me see. By 10, we shall have each 100 Englishmen.
Exit.